So we're out this morning. It's about 8:45, if you can see that. I been up since 6, but haven't really done anything. Trying to figure out what I want to do with my day. I started getting text messages this morning, starting at about 7 a.m., so about what time I was in the shower, with people from my riding group all in a huff because there's a 30% chance of rain tomorrow, and they don't know if we should still go on the bike ride, the motorcycle ride. I'm like, 30% chance of rain, I'm not worried about it. That usually means no rain, or it's going to rain for about 5 minutes and then it's going to stop. But these people all in a huff, so I'm probably going to have to cancel the ride and then reschedule it for the next week, which hopefully will be better weather. Like I said, we usually try to get this done before Memorial Day, before the traffic really kicks up in the mountains. So it is a little cooler this morning than it has been the last few days. I don't know if it's due to the little bit extra cloud cover or what. I won't say it feels good, but it feels like winter back in Florida, where it's a little bit cooler, but you can feel the warm in the air. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm sure a poet could, spend 30 minutes describing it. I can't. The air's a little cool, but you can feel the warmth to it, which indicates that it's going to be a warm day. It's just cooler air right now. And that's what it felt like when I was a kid, every morning going to the bus stop. So that's what I associate it with, is back home. I don't have a lot of time to get into it. Oh my God, it took like 12 hours to upload these videos to YouTube yesterday because internet connection's so slow at the house here. But I was having a discussion with a guy yesterday. The basic premise of the discussion started with a little meme picture online. It's, had a picture of like a 5-6-year-old kid reading a Bible, and then next to it was a 5 or 6-year-old kid reading a Quran. And then, different backgrounds and everything for the two people, or for the two kids. And it basically said, if you were raised how they were raised, you would probably be of their religion as well. The idea being that, nobody is born religious. You learn it. Nobody is born devout. You learn it. You're trained to it as a child when you're raised into it. And a couple of people piped up and said, no, I'd still be an atheist. I'd still be an atheist, blah, blah, blah. And I just piped in and I said, know that. They're like, yes, I can. I'm like, no, actually, you can't. You can't know that you would be an atheist when everything in your life is different than it is right now, or than it had been so far in your life. And this one guy just kept trying to push it, and he's like, yes, I can. I would know that I would be an atheist. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. If you were brought up in a very devout household, if you were brought up reading your religious book on a daily basis, if you were brought up possibly beaten because you didn't know scriptures well enough, you would be a completely different person. Or if you were forced to go to church every week, or even multiple times a week, or whatever. I said it much more eloquently on in the typewritten word, but it was basically, you can't know for a fact that you would be in the same position if everything in your past was different than what had actually been in your past. It's philosophically impossible, and it's scientifically impossible. I even tried to put it in scientific terms. I said, you cannot expect to get to the same conclusion if you're working with two different data sets. Now, again, is there a possibility you get to the same conclusion? Absolutely. Is there a probability that you get to the same conclusion? Now we're working in a little bit more smaller percentages there. So, yeah, he went back and forth and started calling me stupid and trying to bring out, logical fallacies. And I'm like, there is no logical fallacy. I'm saying that you can't know that you would be at the exact same place in your life, that you would have the exact same beliefs and ethical and moral foundation if you were raised in a completely different culture. And then he, like I said, he just kept going on and, started telling me I was an idiot and blah, blah, blah. So I turned around and started calling him an idiot. I'm like, it's impossible to know who you would be or what you would be. I even brought in nature versus nurture. I said, it's a classic nature versus nurture. Nature gives us a foundation. Nature gives us a base, but it's nurture that really defines who we end up being. For example, I was raised in by a single mom who, without a, formal education other than high school, who did her best to have a job and keep a roof over our heads and everything else. And I appreciate that to no end. However, if I was raised in a family with two parents, would I be a different person? Probably yes. I would have had more of a male influence in my life. There would have been more things that I would have learned as a kid and taken with me. Maybe just a different way of looking at things. Had I been raised in a wealthier family, yes, chances are things would be different. Chances are I wouldn't have gone in the military. I would have gone straight to college. Chances are, which would have changed my life. Chances are maybe I would have gone to a private school instead of a public school. Or we would have been raised in a different side of town and I would have gone to a different set of schools. With more middle class and upper class families as opposed to the one that I went to. The people I hung out with would have been different. They would have had different concerns, different interests, etc. These are things that define you. And this guy just could not understand this. To include, if I had been raised, I was raised by believers, but they were kind of the deist kind. Yes, there's a God, but he's not interested in me, and I'm not, really going to go out of my way to worship him or her. I mean, my dad's a Catholic, but he's not devout. And my mom is there's a God, but, I'm not going to force religion on anybody. My dad's a Christmas and Easter Catholic. So yeah, we weren't raised with a huge influence of religion in our lives, other than, I was raised in the South and there's more churches than there are Starbucks. But that goes back to it. If I wasn't raised in the South, would I have different beliefs about certain things? Absolutely. If I had been raised in the Midwest or the Northeast or out west here or on the Pacific Coast or on a military base somewhere else, would I have different belief systems? Absolutely. So these are the things that, accumulate and define us who we are on any given day. Everything you do changes who you are tomorrow. And those experiences that you have help define who you are today and help create a foundation for who you're going to be tomorrow. It's just how it works. And this guy he was adamant that if he was raised in a completely different way, in a completely different part of the world, with a completely different set of parents and friends and influences and school and everything else, that he was going to be the same person he was today. Or yesterday, I should say. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I'm sure there's a psychological or a sociological or an anthropological term for what I'm talking about, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But it's not how it works. So yeah, it was a fun little conversation. And yesterday, to be honest with you, I wasn't in the mood to go nice on the guy. So I did. I went in there and called him an idiot. I was like, you're an idiot if you don't believe this. And then he's like, oh, ad hominem attacks. And I'm like, it's not ad hominem attacks. Ad hominem attacks, those logical fallacies, they only apply if I'm using them to attack your argument. If I'm using them to attack your thesis. I'm not. I'm using them to attack you. Well, I'm using my idiot term to attack you, not your thesis. So no, it's not an ad hominem attack. I already attacked your argument. I brought up all kinds of, ways of explaining it to you. Logically, you're the one who isn't accepting it. That doesn't mean my argument is incorrect. It means that you're unwilling to accept it. So I told him, I said, maybe you need to go reread the allegory of the cave from Socrates. It's a great allegory. It's about perception and reality. And I love it. I absolutely do. Basically, for those of you who don't know, it means, the person who goes out there and perceives the world or perceives more of the world than everybody else has a different view of the world. So, and that can create a lot of conflict, especially with the people who refuse to believe the world is like that, or refuses to believe that there's a broader, what's the word I'm looking for? A broader or larger scope to reality than they have heretofore known so far. So it's great. I mean, basically what it's saying is the more education and experience a person has, the more it shapes their worldview. And people without that education or experience are going to be, confused and possibly angered by what this other person brings in. And we see it every day. Oh, roommate's leaving. So, we see it every day with families, the family has their beliefs, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The kids go off to college, they bring those new ideas home, and it creates problems. It's unlocked. She's in a Jeep. Okay, good. So yeah, it's a horrible aroma. Cat box. Yeah, so there's a cat box in that bathroom, and it always stinks. I think there's actually 2 in there at this point. Let's see. Yeah. So there's the one in this cabinet, and then there's this one. They always stink. And it's the first thing people smell when they come in your front door. It's a wonderful place to have cat boxes. But yeah, so anywho, we're back inside. I'm going to go ahead and give Charlie the cookie he so desperately wants. But yeah, it was a discussion I was having yesterday, and I suffer from it myself. I do. I assume everybody has the same basis of knowledge that I do. It's an assumption I make every single day when I'm talking to people. And sometimes, people get my references, or they understand the concepts that I'm bringing up. And sometimes they look at me like I'm the village idiot. And I'm like, no, seriously, you need to read this, or you need to study that, or, if you take this and add it to that, the logical conclusion is here. And then sometimes, like I said, they don't. So, anywho, that was it. Charlie wants his cookie.